Well, first of all, I'd like to say, I appreciate all of you guys. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm really excited to be back, and I'm excited to be, have the free time and the bandwidth really to engage in any kind of training with you guys. It's always fun, and it's always, it's a privilege to educate and train on this. So what I really wanted to talk about today, honestly, is consulting, because something that in my capacity here, the things that I do, guys, I'm all the time working, with people, one-on-one, dealing with individuals, dealing with organizations. And at the core of what we do when we sell these services, all of you are engaged in the same thing as me. The core of what I do is I consult all day long. It's something that I do with everybody here, Tom, with everybody. And it's so fun. It's so foundational that, like we were talking before today, we were saying, Tom, we were going over, opening up people to understanding that you don't have to be, a sales wizard to do really well in this industry. We know that. And I think most of the people on the call know that, but it's something you have to remind yourself again and again that this industry, how we sell consultatively. That means that we have something people want and need to buy, right? You don't think of a doctor as selling you on getting a cast on your arm. You don't think of, lots of industries, lots of professions as being consultants, so to speak, but they really are. They don't sell you on things. They're consultants all the way. And when I look at it and I think about, through the years, the evolution of how things have changed and how things have evolved, and sort of the way in which COVID-19 has forced us all into a box, at least temporarily, and at least, in certain places, not others, the selling consultatively, it matters more than ever, because you're going to be engaging with more and more people and in organizations that they don't have, they don't know the technology. It's done nothing but get more complicated my entire life, and it's done nothing but become more important as well. So on the one hand, it's grown in its prominence. Obviously, the services that we sell are mandates now to businesses. They're not things that they can optionally kind of walk away from. You have to have a website. You have to have all of these facilities that make the site, trafficked and get people there and everything else that's associated with that. When it comes down to the consulting that we do, we're working with people and we're working with technologies on the one hand that are being constructed in real time based upon that relationship we have, right? So what I really want to get across to you guys, what I wanted to really more or less comment upon is just that the industry over the last 2-3 years, if you think of the changes that we've all witnessed, we've seen the emergence of just the best possible things have happened for us in a tragic way. Right? It's tragic. If nobody's happy about COVID-19, no one's happy about the economic disruption it's caused. However, it's really gotten businesses off the fence to realizing, hey, if I don't really put some tremendous money and tremendous effort and time and energy into marketing myself online, I'm losing out on the future of my business. I may go bankrupt. In fact, I may not even be in business a year from now. So it's changed perspectives, and it's also sped up a lot of schedules. And it's sped them up for different reasons in different situations. A lot of the businesses that we're encountering today, when they want to divert much more money into internet marketing, and they want to go paperless more than ever, the ones that still have paper, which are more common than you think. And they're looking at cost savings. They're looking at efficiency. They're looking at the reduction in redundancy at their organizations. And they're saying, we have to shed this weight in order to survive. So that's a headwind for that. That's not a headwind for us. That's wind at our back. That helps all of us. I can tell you guys, I've been doing a lot of real life engagement with prospects and clients and individuals that are running businesses in various industries. And they're all telling me the exact same thing. And that same thing is the customer journey is nowadays, it's more complicated and circuitous than ever, but the bang for the buck, the benefits for the money spent are there with our services. There really are. They're there intrinsically in the sense that the services that we provide today to businesses are we're building them their foundation for the entire business itself. If you think about it, a lot of companies are 20, 30 years old. They were founded in the days of Yellow Book, right? When that was like a hot commodity. And the internet came along, and it's something that they grew into using, grew into needing, grew into being dependent upon. But COVID-19 and what we recently went through made them realize, wow, this has the potential to not only carry my business, but to grow my business and to give me tremendous benefit if we invest correctly. So how do we engage in that? What do we do on our end to engage in that industry, to go out there and do that? Well, we consult. You don't have to sell things that you consultatively sell. always kind of been troubled by that term. It's the selling on the one hand and consulting on the other. Or maybe it's engineering on the other. I don't know the exact opposite of sales, but it's probably something like that. And it's kind of, it's healthy to think of what you're doing as selling, because we're all selling all the time in life and in business, something that we all have to do every day. However, looking at these services, I can tell you guys, the clients I've dealt with recently, I didn't sell anybody. I didn't have to. I don't have to anymore. You know why? We have an educated consumer now. I don't have to go and convince them that the internet isn't a fad. I don't have to convince them that the website's important. I don't have to convince them that money can be made online. Lots of hurdles are removed for you and have been, that removal has just been accelerated the last year, where now businesses know they need this stuff. What they don't know is what they need and how to apply it. Because one of the things we noticed as well, trend that I've seen really, really crystal clear, guys, and I mean this from the 100%, all the DIY solutions are dead and dying. They're going away. If you think about it, like I was telling you, Tom, earlier, we were talking about this earlier today. We were talking about the DIY solutions and how they came along. And, you know, we've always had this back and forth, this ping pong sort of situation with technology where, you know, we reach a sort of technological level with websites, like around, I don't know, 1998 or so, we reached the HTML, 2.0 era or something, over 20 years ago. And right away, what happened? All these DIY solutions cropped up and they said, it's the end of the internet. Everyone's going to build their own website. Everybody's going to become a programmer. Well, it didn't work. It didn't happen at all. In fact, today, I was looking at some statistics on it. The DIY solutions aren't competition to us at all. In fact, they help us. You know why? When these people go, when a business owner who does nothing but, let's say, flips pizzas all day, or is a plumber or electrician or whatever they do for a living, when they have to sit down at the end of the day at a computer and work on a website, it ain't going to happen. They get so frustrated, they dump them and come running to us. Let's see here, Tom. I just heard a noise. We have to admit somebody in here. Okay. All right. Okay. So, the situation today, when you look at with web development with regards to, the technological sophistication, the DIY solutions, they crept ahead a little bit, but then the complexity jumps way ahead of whatever they can provide. It's that nature of we go up with the complexity, then we simplify, and then we go up with complexity and simplify. If you looked at it, it's almost like a sinus wave, like an MRI, an EKG machine, right? We do this again and again and again in this industry, and we see it. And then there's a turnover every 3-4 years. This happens. Well, this one is much bigger. It's more like a super cycle where when you look at the complexity today of the person on their own or a small agency that's building the sites like from scratch, your competition, in other words, when you look at either the DIY solution or the small agency, they're both being crunched by the complexity on the one hand, where we're having now, this is on our end. This is not stuff that's relevant to you. Don't get scared by that word complexity. It works in your favor big time. That complexity that we have in this industry with regards to solutions, ever diversifying and ever getting more complicated helps us because it displaces all of our local competition. And it puts you guys, all of you and all of us as consultants in the driver's seats. And on top of that, we have another major trend that's helped us, and that is people today don't go out to businesses. And I'm not talking about the COVID-19 reasons why people have for staying home, because that's totally understandable. People, though, in general, before COVID-19, their trend was people were marketing themselves. When they're marketing web development, they're marketing themselves online. I'm talking about consultants like you guys going ahead and finding your clients online. They were doing that. They were doing the phone. They were doing any venues they could get a hold of to sell. The number one venue, and I've said this for, now 11 years, go out there and physically visit businesses, set appointments and show up, get dressed up and show up. You know why? Nobody else is doing it. And in business, if you're doing something no one else is doing, and you're going that extra mile of quality, of doing something qualitatively better than your competition, it is axiomatic you're going to get clients. That's my opinion. I've never failed to land, web development clients, SEO clients when I applied myself. And I applied myself the old-fashioned way of actually going into businesses, or at least setting appointments to go in. Maybe I called on the phone, but I set the appointment. Or if I'm doing remote demos, I'm doing them and I'm working on the influence, the decision maker, and I'm building rapport personally, one-on-one that way too. The main theme is it's consultative. You're not going into these businesses and sitting down and having, these 1 hour canned presentation type things where, you go in and you just throw A, B, and C at them and see what sticks. That's not what we do. What you do is you go in and you shut your mouth and you listen a lot, right? You ask questions, learn about this business, but understand this is an organic thing. This is something that, you're doing it with the spirit of genuinely caring and learning about the business so that you can figure out when you're doing a bunch of things at once. When I'm just having a conversation, learning about a business, what the old site, what it did, what they wished it could do, and I'm learning all their perspectives on things. I'm sort of tossing this, opening the relationship and seeing where do they stand? How educated is this person on my technology? Do they know what they're doing? I get a picture of their outlook before anything else, because that perspective that people have when people talk about, technology things, any technology thing, from a car battery to a satellite in space, we all have different levels of comprehension, almost like filters over our eyes. Some of us see in different colors, some of us see in different shapes. It's just the way it is. And when you're dealing with business owners and you're coming in to sell them something, let's say that we'll stick to the classic. We sell websites 90%, right? Guys, we sell tons of sites, like heaps of them, because they're the necessity, the bare bones minimum necessity online. We go in to sell them websites. We're having conversations with them where we're learning about the entire business, and we're learning about this person's perspective upon themselves and upon the technology. And therefore, it's going to guide the conversation. If I go into a business and I'm sitting down and I've got two prospects, let's say all things are equal, but I have two prospects, and one of them I sit down and this lady starts the conversation with, my last SEO campaign, I spent X amount of money and it ran for X amount of time, and my website is built in WordPress. My other site's built Drupal, and I've got da. I know this is a technologically sophisticated person, and we're going to have a much higher level discussion with a lot of questions fielded at me about my services, because she knows about the services, right? That conversation goes that way, where I'm talking more about my services to somebody who's making a decision to buy. And if I'm selling them, I'm basically, that sale is a vote of confidence in me, because they trust that I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. All my technicals make sense. My price makes sense, and they trust me. Boom, sold. The next person I go in may have no idea whatsoever how, site development works. They don't know anything. They just know that it's a nightmare for them. And I know I'm going to have to start that conversation kind of at zero and work my way up, right? I'm going to have to start at the basement. I'm going to have to build a foundation of knowledge. You handle these two people completely differently. If I were to have tried to apply, a canned sales, presentation to this, I'd fail at both. But instead, I'll succeed at both, because I approach someone technologically sophisticated with the sophisticated level answers to the questions that person has. And somebody else that doesn't have those questions because they don't know any better yet, I'm going to explain it to them and act more as an educator. It's all about handling each situation the way that it needs to be handled. And how does it need to be handled? It needs to be handled in a very logical way. Put the client's needs front and center, and don't betray that. That's really all you have to do if you think about it. If I walk through this process and I don't know anything about technology, but I just know I'm looking out for my client, they're going to trust me because they're going to see that, right? They're going to see that, they're going to hear that, they're going to know that I actually care about the business and I'm trying to apply solutions that make sense to their problems. It does that. Also, it's going to guide all my selections and services, right? I'm not just grabbing everything and sort of hurling it at them and trying to bill them for it. No, I'm coming in and I have a plan for your business. I'm going to, and I always go with the same plan, right? Because it needs to be the same way for almost everybody. First thing, you have to have a website. Without a site, you have nothing to promote, right? You have to have business listings. If you're a local business and you're catering to customers, you need a business listing. Otherwise, people can't find you and call you online or drive out to see you, then you're not getting the business. So you need a business listing. You probably also need SEO. You need all the services, but you need them in that logical order of execution from, the beginning where we're looking at your basic needs. And then that's a website itself, the bare minimum. You need to have like a landing page up there, on up to, a robust, profitable online infrastructure, right? We can do anything in between. And what's going to guide us there is going to be the needs of that client, the logic behind that being, is this in their best interest? I think just about everybody here, without any training whatsoever, can determine whether or not somebody needs a website. You know why? We all own this magical device, just about all of us. It's called a smartphone. And if that smartphone doesn't load that site and everything loads and runs just fine, then we know they need a new website. You can get very, 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 you only have so much time with your clients, right? All of you. You only have so much time. I only have so much time. The time that I'm going to spend working with that client, when I sit down to go over the services with them, when I sit down to investing my time in a consultative manner to try to sell them. Okay, it is a sales effort, but it's a consultative effort. What I want to do is make sure that I maximize my value. I don't want to go in there and spend an hour or two talking with somebody and come out knowing their life history, knowing, what type of dough they use to make pizza, but not getting a sale, right? Not at least advancing that goal. So keeping yourself on point is kind of half the battle, right? Consulting is like that because it's low key. It's not high pressure sales. It's not one call closing. It's not that business, right? Consulting is I'm going in there to sell this person, and it might take 2, 3, 4 meetings possibly to close a website deal. And what I initially sell them, I don't make a sale of a website. I say, well, there's a company recently. Let's say that I go in and I sell a business and I sell them a site for $12,000, right? Well, maybe they don't trust me the first time. Maybe they say, that's a lot of money. Well, then you could tell them, I'm not asking you to trust me, and you can take these things, right? And this is something to consider. You don't have to sell someone your flagship right away. If I'm working on a site sale and the absolute needs of that client, the bedrock needs are a $12,000 site, and I don't know if I did my job 100% right here, because unless we're talking custom code and those situations do exist, most of the time you can sell somebody something more modest. You can get a service sold, sell them a smaller site and expand upon it. If you have a big website project, right? Let's say that project, in your mind is a $10,000 deal, right? And that's not that big. That's, let's say that's that's something you'd be smiling about at any given day to sell a 10 grand site. When you go and you sell these sites, when you're looking at the service itself, what needs to be erected for that client, it could this $10,000 site. Let's say, and hypothetically, that it's a 20-page website, right? And it might be 10. I'm just using these as figures to throw out there. Most of the time, sites get built, even this $10,000 when using the content from the old site. That's just how it works. You are doing this all the time, porting over the old content, clean it up, put it into the new site, get the new site built up, add the new content, done, right? It's like in that order. So when you look at a site like this, if I go in and I sit down with a prospect and I know they're not comfortable with a $10,000 figure because, they might be new. This isn't a client that's been working with me for 2 years. They don't know who Jake Glass is. They don't know who the hell I am. So I could tell them, look, this project is for a 20-page site, right? I'm not asking you for all this money right now, right? You can set it up to where you sell them. And Tom, feel free to weigh in here, because I've done a lot of deals like this through the years where I sell the person a 10-page site and then go back and add 10 pages down the road. Or I'll add different components in over time, go back and get a quote for more work to be done. You guys can do stuff like that. And sometimes in consulting, to get the big deals, you have to crawl along like that. You may have a client that starts up with you on a $5,000 site, then turns around and says, hey, I'll drop $5,000 a month on SEO on it with you because you did a good job. Those kind of things happen too. So you got to be open-minded to the reality that how this relationship begins is not how it ends. Everything evolves. Everything is about keeping your integrity clean, making sure that, when you're working with these clients, you put them front and center so that your prospects front and center so that you build those durable relationships that lead to the great amount of trust that leads to the $100,000 deals and stuff like that, and build your reputation up as you go. It's about doing right by your clients and having them do right by you. That's really what it boils down to. And, Tom, if you want to weigh in here,
definitely.
I'd love to hear.
Jake, what we're trying to do here is having you look at this business in a way that just simplifying the process of speaking to a business owner, right? Simplifying it. This is like it's having a conversation with them. We have this great package. It's which includes the actual claiming and the optimization of Google and also posting, which is a very inexpensive service that we offer. Listings is really inexpensive, right? Getting them the online toolkits, getting them in this dashboard in the business app here is so important because it's going to pick them apart, right? It's going to show exactly what is wrong with their business, and it's real time. And I think it's like every 24, 48 hours, it reloads the actual data. But you have all of these tools. You have, the online presence report, you have the listing scan report. I mean, there's no way that a business owner can't look you in the eye, and tell you, I don't have a problem when you show them a report, and it's like this, and most of them are like this. I don't care what you run. You'll have a couple B's, but you're always going to have a D, an F, an F. It's just the way it is. It's so complex out there nowadays. And
it's important though to make a point. These are real problems. This report isn't a gimmick, guy. Understand why did we build this report? Understand this. Step back for a minute. We built this report and put it in your hands because it's a way to open the discussion. All right. It's a way to have a discussion intelligibly about something that is complicated, right? Websites, e-commerce, listings, reviews, social media, SEO, and advertising. These are vast categories that encompass tremendous amount of nuanced information. And it takes a long time to go through all of it. So this report is a way for you to throw it in front of a business owner, get them to lift their head up and open their eyes and go, wow, I have a problem. It's almost like the person that coughs every day and has lousy health. They finally get around to getting tested from their doctor and they find out they have something that could have been cured for, $5 in 2 minutes, but they don't go and do it. That's how it is with these business owners too. And I'll tell you guys another thing. One of the big changes has been in the past, and Tom, you could throw your 2 cents in. You had to convince people that there was even that there was an ROI online, right? We used to have discussions. I can remember countless.
No, you had to convince them that they needed a website.
Yeah, you had to convince.
The first thing. You had to convince them that you need.
You're older than I am. I know. I do remember those years. But for me,
definitely older than you are. But the point is, it's like, think about it. You have to convince someone that you need a website. And you know what's so funny? It's so funny that till this day, here we are, 2021, right? Businesses don't have Google My Business. They're not listed anywhere. They don't have websites. And we're talking about...
They still don't have websites.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's just incredible. It's incredible. But it's a beautiful thing because that means that we have a business that's high integrity. It's a feel-good business. We're helping them out. And there's no way around it. Like if you have a decent conversation with the business owner, like Jake said, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. This is like black and white, folks. It's like, come on, how hard is it? Do you have to sit there and explain to someone all the features that you have on your website platform to sell them a website? Those days are over. We don't even need to talk about
We didn't even do that 20 years ago. We never did that.
But what I'm saying is some people do that. They think that they need to sell a website. You have to talk about all the crazy features that we have. You don't need that. It's common sense. You need a website, for God's sakes, right? Listings. You need to be listed everywhere. Right.
Yeah, when it boils down to it, though, here's the thing, though. Me and you were in the website business. Rocket Driver, Jake Glass, and Tom are in the website business, right? That's what we do. We're in this business. They're not. So from their perspective, showing them that they need it. Nowadays, of course, they know they need it. Nowadays, it's not, well, my website, I'm going to go and just, I'm going to buy some Yellow Book ads and screw it. We'll throw on, late night televangelist commercials or something. They're not doing that. What they are doing, though, when they're looking at this stuff nowadays, is they're realizing, I think, more and more today, like the latest trend is businesses that you're running into are like, they're in a situation where they are being forced into the upgrades. They cannot afford any longer. In the past, you could still get away with it many places where you cannot. And, it's not even like nowadays the pitch isn't even the pitch. You're not up against the brutal competition of an emerging market like we were in the past, where the whole market was brand new and everything was emerging. Those days are past. We're now like, this industry is analogous to like plumbing or electricians or anything that's high end. Okay. Don't get me wrong. There's huge ROI, but it's one of those industries that is never going away and is going to be there in 50 years and maybe even in 100 years. I don't know what they'll have then, but it's not going away.
It's impossible because technology will never stop, right? And complexity will never stop. Right. Think about all these new social sites that are out there. It's just every day there's something new and it's getting more and more polluted. Google is getting more complex with their algorithms, right? People are a lot smarter. They're doing a lot of research. Their social is so important. I mean, search engine optimization to me, obviously the website's number one, right? Because you can't do SEO with a crappy website. But honestly, SEO is just 100% one of the most important services that you could possibly offer a business. Obviously, reviews and social, again, that's more, that's more stability in terms of credibility, not stability, credibility, right? You have to have reviews and you have to have a social presence, even if you're not going berserk on social and posting every 5 seconds and, on all these different social media channels. The bottom line is that, SEO is something that you really need to push, but you can only push it if they have a website that the SEO would actually have an effect on their online presence, right?
Yeah.
That's really the key. But I'm telling you guys, what we're trying to do here is just really open your eyes in terms of take everything out of the complexity. Take out all the features. Take out everything that you see inside the Rocket Driver Partner Portal where we explain everything 10 times over and it has all these bells and whistles and widgets and this and that. Just let's clear the table, right? Let's just clear it all and just strip everything down and just look at this thing, look at these services as it's so essential to the business where you don't have to talk about anything complex here. It's all about common sense. Common sense. Paint a picture. Common sense.
And it's something I think I really want to say to you guys, and I think this is important too, is that the process is not, a lot of people who haven't been through the development process look at it and they go and they research project management or they research how sites are built or something like that. And they get this idealized, presentation of how it works, right? How it's constructed. Now we do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And we have our process down over here, but I can tell you guys this. If you look at website development in the real world, I've been involved in the development of just thousands of sites. And when it comes to the real world development of them, it's a muddled process. It always is, meaning you're going to have to go back and, there's always that human interactivity of you and the client and getting across and translating the edits and things. And, just that process of initially selling them is not some cut and dried process. Like you don't think that you have to know something you don't know. I think a lot of folks lack confidence in themselves in this business. And they should have the confidence. It's a false fear. It's like, wow, there's a programmer. He knows more than me. I don't know something, so I feel stupid. No, you're not stupid. That programmer is a specialist. The only person who knows that one specialty they're applying themselves to. And you don't have to know any of that. And yeah, the process, they're going to ask you questions that you can't answer. There are questions by the thousands you could ask me about programming, all kinds of stuff. I could never hope to answer you in the moment. Do not feel stupid. Don't feel like you're not being, that you don't have confidence. This process is one that once you go through it, just a couple times, you're going to understand how it works. They have to get graphics over to you. If we can't grab them, there's always that, stuff that needs to be handled and dealt with. And so that's, I think, a very important thing, because I'm in the future, we were talking, me and Tom, about doing some training videos, and I'm going to be doing some, I think, very practical training vids with you guys that show me in real life, just going through the process, maybe with some clients of mine, just talking about what are they doing? How did development, how was it for them? They can go, I'd love to do a video where I go through the history of development for a given business that's had, say, 3 websites that were built in the last 10 years, just to have you guys listen to what supposedly professional, the big guys were doing for them, because the process is always the same. It's always a process of, project management back and forth. It's a little clunky. That's the nature of the beast. And that's because we don't develop sites like we did in an ideal world of, 30 years ago or whatever, where we would have, a photographer, a designer, and everybody under a roof, and everyone gets together and has a meeting. That's just not how it's done anymore. It's just not the way it works. And so the way that development works is that you are the consultant. You're engaging with them, just the way a doctor engages with a patient. The pharmaceutical company is way far in the distance over there. The doctor's up front dealing with the patient. You're the consultant dealing with the client. But we are behind you in every single sense of the word that we can. And we're going to continue to be behind you, just providing you guys with everything we can come up with here. And Tom, I'd love to hear your take on, kind of what I was getting at. You could probably phrase it better, but I think it's important point to get across to them. Just to
a lot of partners that are on this call already have gone through the process in terms of websites. Most of them have, that they understand.
Oh yeah,
there's a back and forth, and it's the whole thing is what you said. This is a very good point that he made, and I just want to reiterate it. Don't ever think that business owner is going to know more than you, and they might, which is very, very rare. Yes, they might ask you a question that you might not know the answer. Again, that is very rare. So this business is the industry, not our business, but the industry itself as a whole, right? All the core foundational services that you're seeing on my screen here. That's complex, and they don't know enough about it. Like Jake said earlier, I'm going to do my own SEO. I'm going to build my own website. It's just not going to happen. They might try it for a while, or I'm going to do my own social. Good luck. Good luck. It's just people don't have the time, and the businesses that do have, in-house people doing their social media, they're getting laid off. I'm telling you, what's happening is that all these businesses, they're outsourcing all of this stuff. They're outsourcing everything. The only companies that are probably Fortune 500, Fortune 100, companies that, might have an in-house team. And even then they're smart enough to say, wait a minute, I'm going to pay someone $100,000 a year to do my social media campaigns. No, I can outsource that. I can outsource, the SEO. I can outsource all of that. There's just no way. It's just because the whole thing is this. It's not their business, right? And if you have one individual that's doing something in a company, there is no way that he is going to stay on top of all the changes that are being made instead of having a team of people behind you like we do that are constantly in the mix, know exactly what all the trends are. We know what's coming down the pike. We know everything that's going on. It's impossible for that one human being, to have the technology that we're going to have behind the scenes. It's just not going to happen. It's just, they might do it. You might have a few that are really good at what they do. But like I said, that's not the majority. It's definitely the minority here. And I can tell you this, the business is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because it's getting more and more complex for these business owners. So the point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot more money to be made than ever before in our industry. That's where we're at today. So do not sell yourselves short. You could ask, a 5, 6, 7, 8 page website. You can ask for $5, $6, $7,000 for a site like that. It's just the way there's inflation. The way that you see how property has risen and how everything is just going up in value. So are the services that you're offering, because the services that you have here in front of you that you're offering It's really life or death for that business. It's just the whole thing is that they don't know that. That's where that, that's the light bulb that has to go off in their heads, that they don't understand the importance of having a killer online presence. They have no idea. They really don't, and
if they never experienced it before, how are they going to know?
They're never going to know unless you educate them on it, and that's really the difference between, what we have here. We have everything under one roof, and we do things in a systematic way, right? It's done properly. We're not putting the cart before the horse. We're not going to do advertising on someone that has a bad website. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to sit here and do SEO, on a company or, that has a bad website. So it's like, the whole thing is you got to take it step by step, and you don't try to oversell them on everything. You don't want to overwhelm them. You want to point out their issues. When you look at this report, you see, the number, what I see here, the score. Yeah, you want to bring it up to them and obviously show them, but you don't want to scare them.
To get their attention. It's to get them to listen to you.
And then say, hey, we're going to take it one step at a time. One step at a time.
Yeah. If I was in the sales process, if we were sitting at a table and we have this report printed out or on a computer and sitting there and I'm talking to this prospect, the report matters insofar as it's sparking interest. I'm watching that person. That's very important, guys. And why I was saying to getting into the person you're dealing with, their level of technical knowledge and their experiences of the past. You go into that stuff because you want to know what you should present right now to this person, so that you, in that limited time you have, you deliver your powerful message as the best you can. And remember this, and this is something really important. Tom touched on it a second ago about this industry, getting more complicated for business owners, right? And it's a great point he made, which is that the best soldier in the world fails up against the worst army in the world, right? That's what we have here, a technological, group of people that are working and delivering all the services in a team fashion under a managed, in a managed environment. When they have an individual doing that at their business that's handling 5 other things, they can't possibly compete. Obviously, they can't. That really works in your favor too, because the businesses 20 years ago you'd had a lot of times they'd have a person there. A lot of times they did. Nowadays, it's not the case, but back in the day, they'd have somebody handling the site and doing it in-house because they had no choice. The companies that had sites at that time did. And you were dealing with significant pushback with this person because you're threatening their job, right? That's the way it was 20 years. Today, you don't have any of that. You don't have any of that. There's so many ways to get someone's attention too. This report's awesome. It's the best thing. We put it out because it is the best. But guys, your smartphone sitting in your hand, right? I've sold people, gotten clients and stuff just because I'm sitting there with my phone and I'm in a restaurant eating dinner and I pull up the website because something's funny on the menu or whatever. And I realize it's a complete mess. And I just show it to them and start a conversation. What got their attention was a customer showing them on their phone that their site's screwed up. It did the same thing that this does, but it did it in a cruder fashion. Use all of your resources at your disposal. You yourself are a resource. You can go out there and honestly, I've always done this for years. I've asked you guys, who's knocked doors, who's gone out and called businesses, who's done demos. We used to do this in the past quite a bit, and we would go through it. And invariably, just about everybody would admit they could have prospected about 10 times as much. Not everybody, but quite a few would say that. And I think it's true now. I think it's true for a lot of people if they admitted it to themselves. And if you go out there and you look at it, if you just take a perspective of I'm going into this business to have a conversation and see where it leads. I'm going to make sure I'm not going in a business that has a beautiful website that was finished last week. I'm going to go into businesses that look like I have a good opportunity. But, you can look and you can generally assess, is this a business that conditionally could afford something like this, especially considering for them, it's a business expense. End of the year, they just write it off, right? So these businesses that are there, they're all around us in this country. They're everywhere. There's small businesses that can afford what you have. And the great thing about right now with COVID-19 and everything, and it's unfortunate for those who it's happened to, but it's very fortunate for us, is that a lot of businesses, that had agencies, that they had a site built 10 years ago. The agencies aren't around anymore, right? From 10 or 15 years ago. And those businesses now are in this situation of having to, upgrade themselves. They're looking at the market, they're reassessing their own situations. So now is the perfect time, especially since we're coming out of this thing and things are getting better out there and the economy's reopened most places and it's reopening everywhere, hopefully very soon. We're in a situation where we can really make hay. And I look forward so much to doing, calls and doing some interviews with some of my clients so that you guys can see what their perspectives are like. And, I think a lot of you already understand that. You've sold a lot of people. There's some names on this call I know I've personally probably seen 50 sites come through for and stuff. There are people out there that have done a lot of stuff. But if you're somebody that hasn't and you want to get insights, even if you're someone who has, I'm going to put out that material. And I think that, guys, it's now is really the best possible time for doing what we do. And, the sky's the limit. Really, like Tom said, with the services you have here, think long term. Think about your clients in terms of years and years as being a client of yours. Don't think of them in terms of I go in and I'll hit and run market them. I'm going to go in and smash them and try to get money and get out of there. That's not this business. We're not selling used cars. These people, you're delivering real value. They'll stick with you. If you came to me and said, hey, Jake, if you give me $1,000 a month, I'll give you $2,000 back. I would be doing it the rest of my life, right? That's the same thing you're in. You're in a situation where you deliver a great site. You can deliver them, everything from protection of their reputation online to e-commerce sites, custom sites, SEO, social media, listings. All of these things are necessary at the average business. The service set is designed around the needs, not the other way around. We're not going into, oddball, far out, theoretical marketing. We have services that are all flagships here. So you can build a business on them. Get your foot in the door with people, earn their trust, get a sale, sell them something, then go back and sell them again and again. Once you land even the most basic service, if they're happy with it, now you're somebody to them and they can feel comfortable giving you more and more money. Think of it that way too. There are big deals out there. We all know that. Right? There are the big, huge RFP deals. There's tons of corporate deals that are huge, but you're building a consultancy. The people who have the hundreds and thousands of clients have hundreds and thousands of small to medium-sized clients, and they slowly built up with them and they did a good job. And so they're rewarded by more and more business. Also, you do a good job like that, even if you just go in low pressure, focus on, making a good impression, letting this person know that you're a competent professional, you're someone trustworthy. These are the things that matter when they're going to hand you money on a promise that they get a website. When you do that, you're going to get referrals. You're going to learn about other businesses. One lead turns into 3 leads. 3 leads turn into 10. That's the nature of this thing too. And that lead may not come for 2 months. When you do a good site and it's upline, that's a testament to you. That's marketing you as much as it's marketing that business. Everybody who finds it, if they're impressed with it, and they will be because we're going to do good work, they're going to find it. And they're going to find a business, the work product of a company that did a good job. That matters big time as well, guys, because that's the nature. That's the bedrock of consultative sales.
It's the long term. Think of your client long term, because it's just, again, let's simplify what Jake just said. Why is it long term? Because some of these services take time for it to start taking effect. Nothing is going to be overnight. SEO is not overnight. Building a social presence is not overnight. A website's overnight. Yeah, that's definitely, we can obviously build a website overnight, but it's going to take time again to start ranking. Listings are overnight, right? Reviews, they're not overnight because it takes time for them to build up their client base and reach out. So everything that we do takes time, right? And that sets you up for, a long run, right? A recurring revenue for a long time, and just take it slow with them, and I think the more that you sit down with a client and really show, like you said, the interest and like you really care. And if you show them that you're not here to try to sell them every service, it's kind of like, hey, look, it's in black and white, Jake, here, look, you have an issue with your site, and you don't need to, you just need to have a personality. That's it. Just like have a normal personality. Like, hey, it's like you're talking to a buddy, a friend,
Tika,
your
you
wife.
just talk, yeah.
You're just talking to these people. It's not
Yeah.
like, and that's really where the difference, that's what separates people
That's
that sell
everything.
and ones
Everything.
that don't. They're going to buy you before they buy anything. 100%.
That's I always did a terrible, I don't think I did a terrible job, but I always would try to make that point to people that at the time of sale, nothing exists in this industry. Do you understand that, guys? They're handing a cash to a person and saying, I trust this person's going to deliver me something, and that something may make me money. That's, it's a something and a maybe. That means that they have to trust you, your integrity, your ethics, who you are as a person. They're trusting you, nothing else. And it isn't like with sales with cars, right? Like I drive a Ford. The company itself, the salesperson could have been a sleaze bag. If I want the car, I'm buying the car, right? But if I'm buying the sleeves, I'm not going to buy the sleaze bag if that's who I have to deal with, right? I'm not going to buy a process if I'm going to have a bad consultant work with me, because it's not like a product where the product can redeem itself in my eyes. You understand what I mean? And Tom, if I butchered that, I'm sorry. I really think that's an important point.
No, you didn't butcher it at all. You made the point. With the car was perfect. You know that no matter how crappy the sales guy is, you still want that car, right? You might not buy that car from that dealership because maybe, that guy turns you off, but you're still going to get that product, right? Here, you are the actual product, right? You are the person that they're going to buy you, is what it comes down to. It comes down to you in the end. Are you well spoken? Do you have a happy personality? Do you have an idea of what you're talking about? Why overcomplicate? Why, take it where you don't need to take it in the conversation. Some salespeople or consultants, they talk themselves out of a sale. They talk too much instead of just listening, like Jake said in the beginning of the conversation. Listening, it's like sitting there and having a breakfast, or coffee or a beer with someone or a drink at a bar, whatever. It's the same kind of conversation. It's a very relaxed and calm conversation. And there's no pressure that needs to be added. It's just, you just have to make your point. And sometimes you have to paint a picture because some people don't understand what you're trying to explain to them. That's why I always like to use analogies all the time and tell stories and kind of give them an idea. It's a great way to get them to understand, because that's really the key factor here. It's getting them to understand that they have a problem, getting them to understand that you're a trustworthy person, getting them to like you, getting them to respect you, and like Jake said, it takes a little time, for that. Sometimes it doesn't take a little time. I just talked to an agency today and, on social media, they needed a site and reached out to this person, and he's, today already he's got a proposal out, and that wasn't even a face-to-face. That wasn't even, but it's all about what? Credibility, right? They looked online, they saw that he had a nice website, great social presence, some great reviews. So that actually helps that person, making the decision to say, hey, you know what? Let me see what this person is going to send to, the proposal that I'm going to get, and see what it's all about. So, it's all relative. Some people, everyone's different. There are business owners that will,
I'll throw
basically
one thing
pull
in
the
here.
trigger, right? They'll pull the trigger right away. And there's certain agents, certain business owners that will take a little bit longer to pull the trigger. But it's all about you guys. It's all about you going through the training. It's knowing the software that we have. It's utilizing the tools. We have so many tools. Jake and I were talking about this today. It's like incredible. There are so many tools that you have to prove your case, right? I say this all the time, Jake. It's like we're attorneys and we're like, here you go. Here's the proof, man. I mean, if you have to get to the point where you have to prove it to them,
there's a problem already if you're getting into that. 90% of this,
exactly.
90%. The thing is that's great about today is that, guys, they're shopping for what we have, and yet they're not finding what they want to find. That's the thing. You got to realize that the industry itself has changed in your favor. tremendously. And in my opinion, it's the golden age of web development and sales is right now. It's not 20 years ago. People think it was the 90s. Not at all. Not at all. Today is when it's great because we have so much more to sell them for so much more money. And we actually get results for people. So they stick with us and we end up with SEO clients that last years, paying tens of thousands of dollars per year. That's what the goal is here. You know what? You don't get that by just a force of will. You get to that point by having an overall agenda, but not having a specific agenda. What I mean by that is, like when I go in to meet with a client, because I have a client meeting coming up here, I'm not going to go in and sit down and be like, now, hey, we've got 1 hour. You're going to go through these points and like hammer through it. Not at all. I'm going to go in and just talk with them because this is the situation, the one that's coming up where I could probably sell them an SEO package and maybe even some expanded development on their site. Those kind of situations, though, I don't go in there with like a hardcore agenda and I'm going to shove this on the person. Not at all. I don't care if this guy buys from me next week, the week after, 6 weeks from now. It doesn't matter. He's going to eventually go that way. He knows he has to, and I know he has to. It's just we're going to nudge it in that direction. I built up my credibility with this individual, with this business, really by just going in there and learning about them, learning what it is that they do, what makes their business unique. Ask a lot of questions about them so that when he turns around and says, what do you think I should do? He knows that I listened enough to have an opinion that's processed in my head. I'm not just waiting to talk, right, guys? Really important point with folks. And you know, all these old basic common sense people skills, Tom says it a million times, common sense, common sense, common sense. It's so crucial. It's everything to us in what we do for a living, right? We're people that on the one hand, you know, they say, oh, you know, you live on your feet. You have to dance around and make sales. This is sales, but I've done one call close sales. I've been out there in the field doing stuff like that. This is not that, right? This is not, I have 2 hours to either sell you or we're never going to speak again. This is, I'm going to open the door and slowly romance this person in this business over time by delivering good results, making them money, becoming a part of their business in a sense. They're dependent on me now for important, vital infrastructure that's provided to them. So over time, all I do is get more and more and more ensconced at that business. Big mistake people make in this business, big mistake. They ignore the clients they have. They do not spend time upselling the clients they have. They want to spend all their time chasing new prospects. It's human nature, but it's a mistake. The clients that you already have, let's say you have 50 clients, right? Over, let's say a couple of years, whatever amount of time it takes. It's not the point of the time. You develop some clients. Now, you can focus yourself on the clients that you have, maximizing them and doing a good job for them too. I don't just mean getting money out of them. I mean, making sure the sites are developed on point, that the relationships are all mended and managed correctly, that their listings are correct, that their socials correct, all these things, right? If you have 50 clients, there's always going to be somebody who needs something. You'll probably spend most of your time upselling your own clients.
They all need something, Jake.
They all need something.
That is, he made a great point. There are a lot of agencies that are partners with us, and they'll sell a website. It's kind of like, boom, I made a sale, great, I made my money, and that's it. It's like, wait a minute, Jake hit the nail on the head. You know, this is a client that
50 clients will eat.
We built a great website for them, for God's sakes. You know, like where's stage 2 in the process? Stage 1, website. Stage 2, listings, reviews, social, SEO. Come on, you know, it's like, and it's not going. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're scared to go back. I have no idea what a lot of
people, it's just human nature. People want to focus on the next meal. The grass is always greener, etc. But it's a big mistake because while you're doing that, you're bleeding the clients you worked hard to sell, because these relationships.
Well, you're doing an injustice to the client. If you only provide them with a website and you ran a report like you see on my screen here, and it looks like this, they have an A for a website and everything is an F and a D. It's like, wait a minute, what an injustice you have done to that poor client, because they have no idea that they have this serious issue. You know,
and no return. What about no return? That's the big one. No return.
You build them a site, big deal. It's a site that, you know, no one's ever going to see, right?
Yeah, just sits there.
Trillions of websites on the web, you know. And here you are. Your job is to educate. Like I said, it's to bring this stuff to light. It's like, hey, you know, we looked at your competition. We took a look at their social. We're looking at yours. We're looking at your reviews. We're looking at your competitors' reviews, and you're not stacking up against them. They're really doing some serious damage in terms of taking a lot of business from you, indirectly, and they might not even know that that's even happening, because remember, these business owners do not think like we do. They don't know this industry. So their heads are in their industry, running their businesses. So don't assume that these business owners know that how their competitors are beating them online. They have no idea. But you could run the reports here, and you could see exactly how the competition is beating your client online, right? How they stack up to the competition.
Yeah.
So, I mean, guys, again, we can go on and on for hours and hours and hours and hours. It's like I said, it's common sense. It's just you got to take care of these people, and you got to come across where it's like, hey, this is something that you have to do. I didn't create Google, man. I wish I did. I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not, Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not any of these guys. We're not the ones that created all this technology. I'm not Bill Gates. It's like Steve Jobs with Apple. We're not these people. Thank God they exist. But my point is like, they're the, it's the complexity that they've created, and it's like, hey, not our fault, but we do have a solution for you, and it's something that you have to do. It's like, that's the key. They have to do it, folks. That's what you need to understand. They must do it. There is no other way. This is something that they have to do. And you have to make sure that you get that message across and, to these business owners, because if you don't, like I said, you're hurting them. Anyways, I have a hard stop here. I have another meeting right after this here. I really appreciate your time, everyone. I hope you got something, out of this. Jake, I really do appreciate having you on the call. It was amazing, again, to have you back on here. Your insights are incredible. Your experience is amazing. Really, again, I thank all partners that are on the call, and hopefully, you could apply some of the, ideas that we've proposed here, some insight that we have, and you can take it to the next level and, try it out, if you were doing something different, try this, why not? Doesn't hurt, if you're already doing what we've just said to do, then great. You're on your way to, to prosperity, right? Helping out that business and helping out yourself in the meantime, right? And helping us out, right? We all help each other, which is great. Anyways.
Fantastic talking to you guys. Tom, as always, a pleasure. Guys, get out there, rock it, make sales, and I'll see you maybe next week.